This is the S23 Ultra, and it's the phone that I've been using since it released in February of this year, though you all know that because of the countless videos that I've made about it. The thing is, the experience with the S23 Ultra, whilst being my favorite phone that I've used thus far, isn't perfect, and there are some things that make this somewhat of a deal breaker, or at least a potential deal breaker for a lot of people. Firstly, and without the fluff, this is a $1,200 phone, and yes, while flagship prices are skyrocketing, I think $1,200 US is a really big ask. Not that I don't think that you're getting a great experience or the best of the best, but for $1,200 you're getting the 8GB RAM and 256GB storage model, which is the base model and not the one that I have here with 12GB of RAM and 512GB of storage. Granted, when I bought this phone, there were promotions for pre-order, and depending on where you can buy it, most likely you'll still be able to get the 12GB RAM variant for the same price. But I think it's absurd, asking over $1,000 for a flagship device, but if you want the best performance that you can get out of it, you need to spend more. But that's not where the penny pinching ends. Of course, inside the box, you don't get anything but a SIM tool and a charging cable, and that's pretty much to be expected these days. Though, one thing advertised of the S23 Ultra is the 45-watt fast charging, which I'll admit is pretty speedy and is really nice to have, except you can't do it with the included cable. That's right, the USB-C to C cable that is actually included with the S23 Ultra can only do 25 watts of charging, meaning that if you want the full advertised 45-watt fast charging, you not only need to purchase yourself a 45-watt capable charging brick, but the cable as well, rendering the one that came inside the box practically useless, or as a backup just in case. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, a like and a sub to the channel goes a really long way. We're getting ever so close to 20,000 subscribers, and none of that would have been possible without any of you, so thank you so much for watching and supporting the content and being active in the comments, because I interact with pretty much all of you, and it really means a lot. Another gripe that I have with the S23 Ultra is social media applications and just the overall optimization of a lot of other applications in the Play Store. Apps like Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter on the S23 Ultra work fine, I guess, if you don't look hard enough. Now, let me be clear first, the points that I'm making in this video aren't to deter people from purchasing this device. Personally, and like I said, it's my favorite phone I own and it's my daily carry, but I more so just want to make sure that you're aware of these things up front, because they could be a deal breaker to some people. That being said, if we dive a little deeper, Twitter is an app that I have a ton of issues with. Now, personally, I use Twitter a lot, and it's something that I somewhat rely on for this channel to keep in touch with other creators and all of you. Follow me, by the way, at Valley's Mind if you want to just stay updated with upcoming videos or just chat with me sometimes. Anyways, there are a ton of bugs within the Twitter app. A lot of the time, refreshing the timeline brings up the same content that you just saw, forcing you to scroll all the way up and refresh. Sometimes I get notifications late or just don't get notified about them at all, and sometimes navigating the app can cause it to bug out, dropping the refresh rate to what feels like 10 Hz. This is also something that I've noticed with the Amazon app as well, so just keep that in mind. And for all I know, that could be an isolated incident with this device and my use case, but what I'm about to tell you isn't. The camera support is still horrendous in apps like Twitter, Snapchat, or TikTok, pretty much whatever it may be. The camera still does not look like what it should, no matter how much optimization Samsung claims to be putting in. The results are grainy or washed out images and just overall photos that aren't necessarily pleasing to look at, which sucks because I truly feel like the S23 Ultra's cameras are some of the most stacked cameras that I've seen on a phone, and there's no reason it should be looking the way that it does. This is especially troublesome for me because now that I've been carrying the S23 Ultra, I haven't really felt inspired to create any shorts or TikTok content for any of you because I just feel like I'm not getting the best image that I can out of these cameras. And if we're to come full circle here, I think for $1,200, I should be inspired to create, especially with how great these cameras can be using their default camera app. Another thing that I want to touch on, however, is the shutter lag. Now, I want to walk with caution here because this could actually be a pretty touchy subject. I personally do not have a problem with the S23 Ultra's shutter speed, and truthfully, I think the images that come out of this phone are really, really good. However, I'm also not taking a lot of photos of moving subjects, and in the instances where I have noticed sometimes the subject can be blurry. Though that's just my personal experience, and like I said, I don't actually use my phone to take a ton of photos, so your mileage on that may vary. People have somewhat circumvented this through using the camera assistant app, enabling the quick tap feature, which presses the shutter button the second that your finger touches it, rather than the second that your finger lifts off. However, it actually doesn't do a whole lot when it comes to shooting moving subjects. A lot of people refer to the shutter lag as the hiccups or pauses between taking images when continuously pressing the shutter button, but it's actually how long it takes for the light to hit the sensor and is processed by the camera. And over the first few weeks of the S23 Ultra being out, I'd seen a ton of tweets complaining about how they cannot trust this phone to take photos of their kids, pets, or any other moving objects because of it. So take that how you will, but personally, even going back to the S22 Ultra, which we all know was apparently a nightmare for this, I actually didn't really have any problems, and I enjoyed using that camera dearly. There are a couple of issues that I have with this phone that are somewhat personal though, and while they aren't necessarily a deal breaker for me, I thought I'd just bring them up so that you all know about them and know what you're getting yourself into with this device. Firstly, the volume buttons being near the power button has honestly been really annoying to me, and after all this time, I still haven't really got used to it. I find myself turning the volume up and down when trying to lock my phone, or just struggling to find what button does what when the phone is in my pocket. This could be because I'm just so used to how the iPhone's is on the opposite side, but I feel like Samsung should have moved the power button either lower to make it a little bit easier to press for people with smaller hands, or just flip the sides the buttons are on and call it a day. Another thing, and this is slightly nitpicky, but I really wish the edges of the phone weren't a 90-degree angle. Although I still stand by what I said about the S23 Ultra being comfortable to hold and easy to navigate thanks to Android's customizable gestures, I still think rounded edges on this device would have been better. And I'm not talking iPhone edges, I mean just putting a slight curve on what we have now and making them a little less pokey. Because aside from holding this phone, it could also be a pain in the ass to put it in my pockets just because of how square it is. Another thing that I'm sad about when it comes to this phone is the curved display. Although I love the look and it's less curved than the S22 Ultra, and genuinely I think it's one of the nicest displays on a phone, the curve makes finding screen protectors hard. And I don't know about you, but for $1,200, I'm not rocking this phone without a screen protector, especially considering how terrible Samsung support is. I'm really not risking damaging or even scratching this device. But I also sure as hell am not paying $50 for a single tempered glass screen protector just so I can get one that has a perfect install on this phone. So at the moment, I've been using these film style screen protectors, and while they're okay, they tend to scuff pretty easily, leave a ton of smearing, and it's just not the nicest thing to look at on a phone that looks this premium and is this expensive. That being said though, I actually have found it very hard to be hypercritical about this device. But I wanted to share some things that I may have not addressed in previous videos because I feel like it's important to be as transparent as possible. Remember, I spend my own money on these phones, so when I say a device is really good or make a really positive video about a phone, that is my honest opinion, and I'm not being told to by Samsung or whomever. This phone cost me 1,800 Canadian dollars after tax, and for that price, I'm allowed to have things that I don't like about it, and I'm allowed to find things that I can nitpick about. So anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, a like and a sub to the channel goes a really long way. I'll see you all in the next one, and peace out.